All right, welcome back to another JNCIE-SP video. This is the lunchtime video, so I will be continuing on where I left off last, and that was working through this free Radius help documentation to try to set up Radius remote authentication on the Juniper lab that I have here. So between videos, I did pull up this AAA server, but it looks like all it was is just another Ubuntu Docker guest, but it had the AAA software installed already. It looked like the software that was installed there for AAA was just that same free Radius package that I installed on here myself. So there's no difference between that Linux machine and this Linux machine here. So we'll just go ahead and continue to use this one and work through the help documentation. Oh, unfortunately, it looks like it is frozen. That's something that can definitely happen. So I will log in and do it on the server. I will do a reload. Okay, so I will go to Navigator, Virtual Machines. You can see I haven't even used 1% of my capacity for storage now, even though I have used 5 gigs. Much better than before when I only had 800 megabytes. Okay, so hopefully that restart doesn't take too long. I think it's generally not too slow when it's done this way. So yep, it's going to drop connectivity, of course. Oops, so it's still booting up. There we go. Hopefully it's just about there. Looks like it is. There we go. Oops. Okay, yeah, I have 2 projects, so I was kind of worried when only one popped up. But here it is. So let's see if that Ubuntu Docker guest is done booting up. It is. So let's see if the IPs persist. I don't think they will, but it's not a big deal to set them up again. Yep, so they didn't persist, but I can even do a history pipe grep if config, or why don't I just do history pipe grep 192.168.0. Oops, it's actually, I think it's going to be, oh, sorry, 192.168. So now you can see the commands I used previously to set this up. So I can just do exclamation point 69 and exclamation point 70. And now that I've got those configured, oh, I think this gateway, oh, yeah, so the gateway, so these are incorrect. Gotta do a delete on that, and then a, oh, and that's even for ETH0. ETH0 is the one that so I changed it on ETH0. That's the one I wanted through DNS. So yep, I changed it to a static. So I think I'm just going to restart this and it will blank that out. But then I can use those commands again. I'm just going to have to doctor them up before I enter them in. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes when I do the reload, it doesn't automatically restart. Oops, and I'm not sharing my screen. I will do that right now. There we go. So sometimes when I reboot, it just shuts down and does not restart. Sometimes it just does nothing at all. Okay, so I have config. Perfect. So now let's do a history pipe grep 192.168. So perfect. Here's the commands that I will need, but I'll need to doctor them up before adding them. So this IF command here, we're going to be going with .0.2, I believe. I will double check R1. Oops, actually I won't because it's still waking up. So I'm pretty sure this is right. And then I will need this to be, oh, no, it's not going to be right because it's the, yeah, this is right. And then I will use this. Oh, but I can't use it as a default gateway because the default gateway I want to be up to the public internet. So it's going to be /24. And I can even just do a /29 because I only got 5. Be as specific as possible. So that way I can do a like a .65. I can conserve my space, which is always going to be of utmost importance when you're using IPv4 addresses because the space is already exhausted. All right, so oops, and I did it for ETH0 again. I meant to do it for ETH1, but that is not what I did. So I will stop and restart it again and hopefully get it right this time. I think what I'm going to do is do it in a notepad first, look it over and make sure I get it right before I enter it into the device instead of checking it afterwards. Oops, it looks like something happened with R1. Okay, so now let's do a history pipe grep 192.168 and get this right the first time. So already we got a problem here. It's going to be ETH1, but the IP address, I believe that's correct. And then this will be totally fine. This is going to apply to every interface, not just ETH1. Okay, so we're good to go. Put that in there. And maybe there's some that are already reachable. I doubt it though, because that R1 is not up yet, and that's the gateway for this. So yep, the destination host is unreachable. I can't even ping 192.168.0.2 yet. Oh, it looks like I can. So I wonder, maybe it did the error where it rolls it back. But that's interesting that I can ping 192.168.0.1. Maybe I did 1.1 by accident. Oh, looks like I pinged .2. I bet you I can't ping .1. Yeah, .2, that makes sense because I configured it on myself. Nope, I can't ping .1. That's because router 1 is not up yet. Looks like router 2, we're good to go. So the other topics on this exam, or on this section of the exam, were NTP and SNMP. So we've already got SNMP set up already on all of the devices. Let's make sure that NTP is up as well. Before finishing this video, it might need to go into a after work video. But by the end of this topic, I plan to have NTP running on all 4 of the devices, as well as be able to pull back a SNMP GET for the host name or something like that from all 4 devices. And then finally, of course, have all 4 of the devices be able to authenticate via tactics. And then once I can do that, I will move on to the next topic. All right, so destination host is still unreachable. This is still coming up. It's kind of a slower device. It looks like it had an issue where it didn't, where it shut down for some reason. Not sure what happened there, but it is currently up, so I don't foresee any more features, more problems. Now you can see I do have another user account besides root on these for SSH, and then of course I've got my SSH keys on there. I saved myself a little bit of time in the long run by spending a little bit more time in the last video figuring out a really easy way to get those keys on there using FTP instead of having to copy paste them in. So oops, and I don't know what just happened. Okay, there we go. So that in future labs will save me quite a bit of time. FTP is not a protocol that is compliant with common criteria, which is a security standard for networks. But as long as you use it temporarily and then don't have it lingering on the device, I believe that is fine. It's not that you can't use it, it's that you can't just leave it configured when you're not using it. And same deal for something like Telnet too. Personally, I think there are some instances where it's okay to use Telnet. If you're not sending passwords down, one way I will use Telnet is as a network diagnostic, because even though another device doesn't have a Telnet service enabled on it, you can use Telnet to test whether or not a port is open on the device. So there are reasons to use Telnet, but to just leave it enabled the way you would SSH, there's no reason to do that. You would only use something like Telnet FTP, a protocol that is not compliant with common criteria standards temporarily for a specific purpose. Whereas SSH, you can just leave enabled whenever, no big deal. But Telnet, if you ever want to use it, it's got to be for a really good reason, and it's got to be temporary. All right, so let's go ahead and check on router 1. So router 1 is up. Oh, router 1, it looks like it, oh, I have never seen this before. So we've got an unsupported file layout. I don't know what that means. So, okay, it looks like this is in lib. And then libaccess.slo.1. Let's see what that is. libddl access.so.1. So it's a compiled file, so I'm not going to see. Looks like it has something to do with PuTTY though. But can I just delete it? Sounds like a really bad idea. Okay, it's saying there's no such file or directory. Oh, I am used to Windows, so I named it DLL instead of DDL. Okay. Oh, so now there's another file that is giving me this error, but it looks like that file no longer is. So it looks like just all of these files here are giving me that error, or at least all of the ones starting with lib. So I'll just remove them all because I will just simply create a new image if it gives me too much problem. It's not that big of a deal to just create a new image. So cannot open, user interface, connection, management daemon, not running. And that's probably because I deleted all of those files. Those were probably very, very, very necessary. But this is a lab environment. I can do what I want. And I wanted to try doing that. And now I know never to do that in production or even in a actual lab development that is being used, because it will cause this to have a lot of problems. Let's see if a reboot will fix it. Or let's just try to stop this. Okay, so it's stopped. And then start it up again. Maybe those files will be able to recreate themselves. Okay, so it's trying to boot. So yep, this looks pretty promising. Hopefully those files can just recreate themselves and we're off to a good start. So this will take a little while. I need a quick break, so I will pause the video and come back. All right, and I'm back. It looks like it's gotten past the wake up daemon. Typically when it gets past that, it'll get to a login prompt pretty darn quick. But for the past 2 minutes, it's just been stalling out here, loading BCM SDK module. I do remember in that directory, I saw something saying SDK module, something like that. So I would be willing to bet that the reason it's stalled out right here is not that it's continuing to work and will boot up shortly, it's that it's not finding those files and having a critical error that it will not recover from. So I'm going to do what will probably, even if it were boot up later, end up saving some time anyway, and just create a new device. Okay, so we've got the forwarding plane. I like to put first so that they stack correctly, but you can of course change how they layer by saying raise or lower a layer. This is interesting. What does that mean? Let me try going like this and then doing. Oh, that's kind of cool. So if I take this one and put it over here, and then I click, so they'll do that. Oh, that's pretty cool. I like that. So I can just align them and get them absolutely perfect, but unfortunately, I'm not sure that's going to work with these two icons, because as you can see, if I align them both horizontally and vertically so that they're perfect like this, not only do the labels overlap, it's harder to click on the control plane. So I think this sort of stacking is better. Okay, so now I've got to cable it up. Yeah, and I'm not sure what to cable it up as, but except for the control plane to the forwarding plane, of course. Oops, cannot connect to itself. Just click the wrong icon. There we go. Now we're good. So now, of course, I know that this is 9. And let's do 0. 1. 2. Oops, gotta do 2. Okay, and then of course I'm going to need to configure router 1 again, but that won't be too difficult. I'll log into the other 3 routers to see what's, so showing this pipe match R1, so show configuration int. Okay, so I'll do this for all 3 routers so that I know what subnets to use on the links. All right, so we're good to go. Just gotta wait for R1 to boot up. Let's see how it's coming. Okay, so it already made it to the main menu. I think I'm gonna pause it and come back when it's done. All right, so I'm back. Lunchtime video is coming to a close, but I will have enough time to get this ready for the after work video where hopefully I can have this topic wrap up. So we're going to need to do all the basic configuration now, since this device had an issue for some reason. But that is, there wasn't really much configuration anyways. But this is why it's a good idea to have configuration backups set up, which is something I did in another video. I can set that up again. So if I ever have an issue like this again, I can just restore it from a backup. Okay, so here's my basic configuration. I'll need to enter my license key, so I'll stop the share when I do that, because I don't want to hand that out. Okay, so my license key added without any errors, so I can share my screen again, assuming I closed the tab. I did not. Okay, so I will share my screen again. Now I need to set up the device with similar configuration of these. So I know I cabled up so that it goes 0, 1, 2. So let's put the descriptions on there first. All right, so now it's time for the IP addresses. Oh, it's got to be in a unit, of course. And it's got to be unit 0 if there's not VLAN tagging enabled. Okay, so 000 goes to router 2. So we're going to be using this. Okay, and then 01 goes to router 3. And just one router left. All right, so in addition to that, we're going to require a loopback interface. I think these had a description on them as well. Let's see here. So show in switch, show configuration Intel 0. Nope, they didn't. Yeah. Okay, so I'll leave a description off of that. Oops, but I do need a unit number. And it's going to be 172.16.0.1/32. Okay, so I've got all my interfaces ready to go. So now I can enable OSPF. And then loopback 0, I will make passive. And you'll notice I don't have to do the .0 because it will do that automatically for me. So I think that's pretty much it. I will need to enable some system services as well. So I'll need to enable SSH, of course, but of course, in order for SSH to work, I'll need a user account. I think I could just use the root account, but I'll just set one up. That's best practice, and I'm going to need to do that on the test anyway. I'm going to need to create user accounts. Oh, but I'll wait to do that because I want to transfer that key using FTP. So I'll wait to create my user account that I'm going to use for SSH, and but I will set up FTP on this because I'm going to be doing that file transfer. Oh, and there is one that I forgot to add to OSPF, and it's going to be the interface going to the Ubuntu server, since this is router 1, and this I can make passive as well, since the Ubuntu server cannot make use of those OSPF updates. There's no reason to send them down that link. But of course, the subnet that belongs to that link does need to be included in the information sent to the rest of the topology so that they know about that subnet, because they need to reach the server, because when the server reaches out to them, traffic's got to go back. And when it comes back, it uses those routing tables on the device the traffic made it to. So if that routing table is missing the subnet that the router is on, even though you could reach out just fine, you won't be getting your traffic back, and you'll get a, I believe it's a, oh, you'll get a timeout actually. So yeah, and then if you were to go on the router that was meant to send you the traffic back and ping there, you get a destination host unreachable. But from the server to the device that doesn't have a route for the server because you didn't include that link in OSPF, you just get a timeout. But if you were to go here and then ping over there just because of T-shooting or whatever, you get a destination host unreachable. Or no, so sorry. You would get a no route to host, is what you would get, not a destination host unreachable. And we can do that. It's always good to kind of be really solid with the fundamentals. And clearly, I right now need a refresher. So let's do that. Let's ping 16.4. So we're pinging all the way across the topology, and we can see it's destination host unreachable. I'm sure it's going there. So let's do a IF config. I think I might have forgotten to configure. Yeah, I forgot to configure the GE009. Okay, so yep, so now we'll have a much better time. Yep, so everything's good. But if I were to go back into my OSPF settings, so edit protocols OSPF area 0000, show pipe display set relative. And now I were to take this out. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I guess the commit didn't go through all the way. Okay, so now what? Oh, right, because I just deleted the passive now from it. I didn't delete the whole interface. Okay. Okay, so now it's going to work as expected. Yeah, so you can see it's just sitting there timing out. It's not able to reach it. We don't get a destination host unreachable. We don't get a no route to host message. And we don't get a, yeah, so I think those are the three main things you can get. You can get a timeout, you can get a destination host unreachable, and you can get a no route to host. You can also get one if, like, for example, your port is down, but those are the main ones you're going to get. So if we go, but the thing is, if we go on router 4 and we try to ping, let's see here, IF config, so the address here, we'll get something quite a bit different. We get no route to host because there's no route. But we can't get that message here because there is a route. In fact, it's making it all the way there just fine. It's just, and if I do a trace route, oh, well, if I do a trace route, it'll still fail because those other devices don't have it. But you can see what I thought was true is true. I really got the fundamentals down enough to understand that even though it's times out here, your traffic is still making it out to router 4. it's just not making it back because router 4 doesn't have that route because it was not included in OSPF. So a timeout is perhaps a good indicator that there might be something wrong with your IGP. All right, and that's the lunchtime video. So join me afterward now that I've got R1 up and running. I'll do a rollback to show pipe compare. So yep, now I've got that back up. So this will start going through hopefully. Yep. So join me in the afterwork video where I get through this topic. Stay tuned for more.